showtime.
Doo-doo-doo. Hello, everybody. I think we live, right? We live. Here we
We
go.
live. We
We're a
here.
little bit late, y'all. We're a little bit late. It's not 9 minutes. 9 minutes, nothing. People cut time. It is what it is.
Blame
Uh,
me. It's my fault. I chatty chat.
so today, what we're gonna be talking about is sexual purity. Is there such a thing? Can you be loose? Is that a real thing, or is that just some patriarchal concept that people push forward because men are insecure that they cannot keep a partner? So let's really get down to it. You know what I mean?
You were just gonna,
Actually,
you
I'm
just
gonna give a
gonna
little
put it
time for
out
people to get
there.
in. I won't give a little time for people to get in because right now we got nobody's in yet. So I
Yeah.
think it should pop off in a second. Hopefully, here we
Yeah.
go. First person in the house.
We can keep some
Yes.
chit chat going to get it open. I like how you opened that up. I like how you just said, like, look, we're gonna put like is this or is it because maybe insecure? I mean, we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah. Real talk. The thing is like we hear this rhetoric, right? We hear this rhetoric like loose women, loose that, whoop, whoop. That's like, okay, well, the thing is, why would you be saying that in the first place? Why are you like worried about, like, for example, somebody else's body count? Like, why are you so stressed about that? Unless that's really something that has to do with insecurity about you not being able to perform to a level they may have experience to. That's the first thing that comes to my mind when people start talking like that, right? Is like they're really focusing on like their insecurities, right? That's really what it's coming from. It's not really about the other person they're demeaning, and the culture of building that feels it's a way that people can push not abstinence per se, but like inexperience, right? Because they can push inexperience, then don't have to fear losing somebody because they can't perform to the degree that person is used to, right? I think that's where that comes from in my mind, but maybe I'm tripping. Maybe there's something else to it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that both parties have insecurities and probably haven't communicated enough. And I think that society doesn't give us very much education on sex. And so I think both people are maybe a little miseducated on the topic, to be perfectly bluntly honest. I think that some of those, I think men have those perceptions and it causes insecurities. And I think even thinking like, oh, I need to live up to somebody's past partners. If we all out here a little ignorant about how all the sex things work, well then there's not like that pressure shouldn't even be there. Plus you're a different person. Like within the person
Yeah.
before, so your sex with that person is gonna be its own unique experience. And that's what's beautiful about sharing with sex with other people. So I think a lot of things come down to again how religion plays a role in society and expectations, and a lot of media that is also making jokes and shows episodes based on stereotypes or based on narratives from the church and from the state that historically can be connected. But then I also think that causes us to not educate ourselves more on the topic, and we get this idea that we just should know how to do it. I think a lot of times both parties are pretty insecure, and one reason why the experience maybe not doesn't feel as fulfilling is because we're both insecure, worrying about how we are presenting, how we're performing. Is my I can say vagina? That's the fucking technical term, right?
Yeah, say whatever. I'm not even monetized yet, so don't even worry about it.
Femme or vagina holding humans worrying about their pussy being loose. Like that's its own like insecurity that we also carry. But then also because we don't have the education, sometimes we don't understand that like, that thing pushes a baby out, right? And last time I checked, I ain't seen no dicks as thick as a baby. Not real ones. Like you can definitely go to the store, but like, I think a lot of it is just more information, which is one reason why I like talking about this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do see the religious standpoint, but I also feel like the religious standpoint didn't come from the religion itself, right? I think it came from the the insecurities of men who are writing the religions up or like accumulating, right? So, and I think it's insecurities that still stay pretty prevalent, in my opinion. And like, it's like, why is the conversation not like, oh, you must have a small winky? You know what I mean? Because people ain't really like talking about that or saying it that way, unless it's retaliatory for men's specific misogyny around it. And it feels like a lot of it, like I said, bounces down to the insecurity, right? And the thing is, like you said, it's not, first off, sex isn't just about the actual action. A lot of times, it's about the build up. It's about the way, at least for like femmes, in my experience. I think some men definitely about the action, but like it's about the build up. It's about like doing things that will turn them on in the first place, and then it's like icing on top of it. At least from my experience, right? So, I don't think that I think that people don't understand that true, but I also feel like they won't. If you can't feel confident in yourself, then of course sex is going to be bad, right? So of course you're walking in already sabotaging yourself because you're so worried about this thing about, oh, this person has so many partners. But also, like, it feels like there's a component of it that is like a systematic weapon, right? Like, we can talk about like reproduction or reproductive rights and stuff like that, and like women's be able to control women's reproduction and when they're having sex, like having babies and so on and so forth, by being able to like, okay, so this person is to be assigned, like you said, same reason a religion did, assigned to this one other person, so then they can go have babies and begin like build a labor force. So I think that kind of goes into it too. And I hate to swerve it to political a little bit, but I feel like the overall arching social ramifications are political, you know?
Yeah, well, I think I go back to, and I let me emphasize when I say religion, I mean organized religion, okay?
Yeah.
The philosophies of religions, practicing those in groups and or individually, however you like to practice, but organized religion is really what I'm talking about, those systematic structures. And I can't emphasize enough, like, we can't really talk about sex without it being political and connected to religion, because that is how that's how it was intertwined in the foundation and history of the culture in which we live in now, which is Western white civilization, right? Like Western white European culture. And it's funny, I did not do this on purpose, but last night I literally just watched like a little documentary on YouTube about sex in the Dark Ages, I think it was, and how controlled it was by the church, which was also the state. Like, they were connected. There were two entities, but they were connected, right? And like, it was, the message was very clear that you are not supposed to be having sex unless the sex is leading to having a child, like trying to get pregnant. That was the only, like, the church doctrine literally said no pleasure, keep your clothes on, like, make it quick. So we do have to take into fact, just like in other aspects of culture, having societal traumas or generational traumas. I think that that there's some generational trauma that has affected demographics differently when it comes to sex and religion, but specifically even the doctrine of purity, like the doctrine, let me not just say purity, but of being a virgin, like that came from white Christianity, white evangelical Christianity, and like Catholic like doctrine, and it's like, it was just made up. Like, we're not virgins, and then like you have sex for the first time, it's like you're a child. And then you like explore other experiences with people, and we've kind of very much boxed our sex understanding of how that's a part of us and how it's part of being a human and part of healthy like relationships. And we've kind of boxed it in because there's, I'm like a little spiritual now, but there's liberation within sex. Okay. There's magic within sex. Like, there's connection within sexual activities, or this type of erotic or sensual connection with people that the state doesn't want you to have. Neither does the church, because then it's really hard to get you to conform to authoritarian structures. So I do think it's important to like show the connections between things in your sex life that you do that were kind of dictated by the church and the state like hundreds of years ago, that we see that is normal in society today, and virginity is one of them. purity,
Man,
which
yeah,
was only created for white women. Let me just clarify. It did not include women of color. Virginity and purity was white women's virginity and purity.
yeah. I mean, I also think it's like it feels like it has some petty roots. And if petty being short for something that I'm not gonna say just for YouTube reasons. But like it feels like it has those roots, right? Because like the idea of like, I mean, who's gonna be a virgin at 25, right? Who's gonna be those, like, realistically, even back in the day, it wasn't like a thing. You know what I mean? Let's be 100. Like, your hormones have now been running for what? Fucking 25. You've been running for at least 12, 13 years. So there's no way in hell you like resisting it that long. It just doesn't make any sense, right? And that's why you saw also, like, when it comes to the religion side of it, people getting married so young, so quick, right? Because like they can't, motherfuckers like burning, their hormones are burning, and like, oh, if you have sex, you got to marry them. And the purity thing just feels like also tracks to property to some degree, you know what I mean? But I don't know how. I guess how did we get to the point, like specifically, where we started getting these ideas like loose, for example? Like, what made people like come up with those ideas and concepts is kind of interesting to me, right? Because I don't necessarily know, but I think it's like what it just feels like. Is that the only way they can insult, or is it like there's something else bigger to it? Is it like a reference to children? Like, what is it? Like, I never kind of
Like
understood that.
purity or virginity?
Or the when people try to be like, oh, is somebody, she's loose, like that idea and concept as a whole. And we know it connects to purity, but like what's like, I always wonder what that connection is, because it just doesn't. The only thing I can think is children, right? People are thinking about children because it's the only thing off top. People can say bodies because, but then it just, like I said, the insecurity goes back to like, okay, you're really insecure, you have a small winky and are bad in bed. Let's be a buck about it. Like, that's, why else would you be talking about that? Why would that matter to you?
Well, I think it has a lot to do. Well, one, hold on, before I say this, Derry Thompson said, "Damn, what I miss." I don't know if you want to maybe just recap for some people that are maybe just new to the chat.
So we're talking about like sexual purity, and also like, can someone be loose? The idea of that concept. And in my personal opinion, I'm not a fan of that terminology, and I don't really subscribe to it. But just having a conversation about that, and we kind of got into it, and we talked a little bit about like how the church added to that purity mindset around sexual purity, and how it was also has some kind of like petty roots, like, and petty being short for a specific other word that the YouTube doesn't like. So for adults who like younger people or children specifically. So I feel like the root of that, along with it correlating, like I said, with the church, and the background of the church is not because of this talking about the church. That just happened to be because it's Sex Sundays, and so after church you come in here for church. You feel what I'm saying?
Look, I'm just putting it into being. I've talked about it enough. This is Anarchist Church. We done started it. Welcome. This is Pastor Big Villainous, okay? Reverend Posh up in here. We talk about sex today. Because I remember when I first was like Anarchist Church, and people would be like, what would he talk about? I go, the actual loving things that you're supposed to be talking about in church. Sex, relationships, communication. Let's decolonize it, okay? I have a passion for this because I've been in my own decolonized sexual process in the last 5-6 years as I've gotten kinky and gotten into BDSM and started doing femdom and kink stuff and learn rope and stuff. And I want people to get here because damn, bitch, I've been going to other universes with my orgasms, okay? And I need people to understand what this pleasure is like. Maybe that will get people a little more motivated about the revolution. But at least, like, I don't know how people can be living in this torturous capitalist world and not experiencing the one piece of free ass joy that the fucking universe gave us. And I'd like to help people get to that or understand how to do that better, as well as again, I'm in kink and I've done a lot of healing work within rope bondage and within that space, because we're also alienated and desperate for like authentic human connection, whether that's sexual or just intimate or sensual. So kinky, church, Sorry, there it's out. I disclaimer. Whatever kinky fucking sex thing you want to talk about it, I've talked about it. I may be taking a class on it. What do you want to know? She said, "Oh, lot."
Oh Lord.
I may, and who knows if we start rolling, I may testify up in here. Okay, I might throw out a hallelujah. I might speak in tongues. Okay, I was raised in the church. I know how it works.
I mean, that's part why there's a church in here, man. Sex Sundays, because if it's done right, you screaming for God all day long. You know what I'm saying?
Hello. I was screaming just last night. Lord Jesus. So yes, we do in church, and I'm glad. I actually went to hip hop church this morning with KRS-One, so I'm just trying to get all the revolutionary church on Sundays.
Man, yeah, man. I think when we sit here, right, and it's really interesting that the church came up in this theme, because that was actually part of, like, none of this is scripted. We should be chopping it up, you know what I mean? So that's why it's going to be in the comments, because we will engage. So, but like, it's interesting when the church came up, because it wasn't really a planned thing, you know what I mean? It's more church, like, when black folks talk about going to church, you know what I mean? You're preaching out there, telling the truth, the gospel truth, man, of to save yourself with the sexual health. Because the thing is, one thing we know, so why I really wanted to start Sex Sunday specifically is, I feel like the left seems kind of sexually repressed, and I think that's
please, amen. Where's my? Hold on, pause. I need to get my church fan.
Oh shit, church fans about to come out. Yeah, I think I do. I think it's kind of sexually repressed, and I think one of the things of being a healthy human being is having a healthy relationship with sex. Oh shit, here comes the fan.
Testify, please. Please tell the left how sexually repressed. How are we supposed to convince people to come from the other sexually repressed side when we're so sexually repressed?
Exactly. And the thing is, like, even like the last one we talked a little bit about last Sunday about how there's connections between fascism and sexual repression, right? So it's really important to like get into these. And now we got to go through some of the things that use to stigmatize people, specifically women, you know what I mean? And yeah, kink is great. Man, I can.
I have to pause one moment. I have a fiance, and he's also my submissive, and I need to attend to him for 1 second. So I will be right back. Excuse me. Yes, my love.
So I'll just go ahead and keep going for a second while they're taking care of the fiance. You know what I mean? I think one of the things that really needs to be addressed is like, oh, hold up. I want to actually select Big Villains finds the channel blowing up. Well, hopefully, sex does sell, but we ain't really trying to sell it, but we could use the funds though. So if you want to support on Patreon, Villains_music. No pressure to pitch you though. I just had to throw a pitch out there because pitch had to put a comment out there. So when it comes to like the idea and the concepts of being loose and sexual purity, like we mentioned the church and thing, but like when the system and the state is super invested in controlling people's sexual interactions and also the relations between men and women, I think one of the things is perpetuating misogynist concepts like that helps keep people divided against each other, for one, but also gives a breed to a lot of the incels that we see when they take in these mindsets, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll let Posh hop back on though, because you just came back in after handling your little business.
Yes, I had to handle a little business, but I'm back. What was we addressing?
Oh, we're still talking about same thought we left. I was expanding upon it a little bit. Oh shoot.
I think the Republicans are freakier than leftists. They just lie and project. I mean, as someone who, guys, this is just my life experience, okay? So I don't want you, but like I was an event producer and educator within the kink scene and a lot of white spaces. And that came up in the last couple of years within kink and BDSM communities, obviously because Black Lives Matters. protests and stuff came up. And you're right. A lot of people of color in these spaces found out how many Republicans that we've been kinking with very quickly. The lines got drawn very quickly. And you're right. They are. They are. As someone who also is a professional femdom, I would say that was like 80% of my clients were conservative.
I mean, I bet I'll put money at like 80% of people who want a black bowl is also conservative. Just saying, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think part of it is some of the ideology mixing in. Like, look, kink, we are definitely playing with the taboo. So I think some of it is their ideology connecting with kind of what we talked about last week, which was the repression leading to obsession. And then, you know, there are definitely people who are trying to practice that in like the kink community. We teach, we practice, we try to practice healthy communication, consent, negotiations. And you see people that are exploring that in a healthy way and healing and stuff. But then there's still a lot of toxic behavior of people exploring unconsensual maybe fetishes, or people who have not actually dealt with that their repression has caused these obsessions. So yes, I would, and I don't even necessarily want to say freakier. Again, I think it has to do with the repression, right? I feel like not all leftists, but like people who are more liberated in that space are going to feel more comfortable expressing themselves in a lot of different spaces where they may not have to come to this like private, you know, secret space because nobody at their church knows that they do this. So I think like what you say, it's just a lie. And yeah, like we're humans. Everyone's human. We all have sexual, carnal, like, you know, primal desires. And you can't repress those for so long and then think that it's not going to come out into toxic behavior.
I mean, so do you see a lot of that in like the kink communities? Also, do you see a lot of the purity mindsets even within kink communities, like slut shaming specifically, or like terms like someone's loose or whatever? Do you see that happen a lot?
No, because I will say, you know, there are a lot of issues within the kink community, but one of them is that we are pretty like we're pretty sex positive, right? So like loose, in my experience, was always used to degrade a woman who they thought had been around the block too many times. Like the reference is coming from, oh, so many, you know, dicks have been in that hole that like it's loose. You can't even feel like that's the concept. It's like and that I've always heard it from, right? And I mean, I've definitely pushed back on like dude friends that would say this and be like, look, dude, half those women you are even fucking aren't even having an orgasm, so I don't know what the fuck you talking about trying to like, because I'm just like, I hate it when people do that, and it's just slut shaming. It's just slut shaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And also, most of the time, it's not accurate. Like half the time, they're saying it just because she didn't want to fuck you,
bro.
Right?
Or like.
Was rude to you or some other else, and it's like, oh, she's loose or she's a slut or she's a whore. Like I've always looked at it kind of like that, except it's a little bit more vulgar. But as far as like, if you want to know, like I'm a sex educator. If you want to know science behind it, like there's no science behind it. If you're a vagina holder, like nope, it's made to do the thing, like to expand, to come back. So
exactly, those are ballers.
You can be tight. Right? You can be tight. That is a thing, right? But loose is only a thing that I've heard when we're actually like at a medical problem because you've been doing some very large porn, you know? Like I don't know. Like I've not there's no science to back that up. So I really do think it's just like it's just a put down.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And the thing is like, even also the idea that people the people who've been have more partners would be loose, right? The idea that it's ridiculous because I'm gonna tell you, if people been with more partners, they also know about Kegel balls. Bet you know they know. And so like I'm saying, like that's not even how that shit fucking works. It doesn't function like that. But you know, like I said, it always comes back to me thinking that the people who are saying it got small winkies and feel insecure about their own sexual life. Not for real. And like, there's nothing wrong with having small winkies because there's some people who don't want nothing but that. You know what I mean? So like, there's nothing wrong with that. Someone's gonna be compatible with you, and it might not be somebody who is like purity either, like that fit that weird thing. That might not be who it is. So because I think a lot of the biology on top of that, along with like muscle training, I
Yeah.
guess I don't have one,
Okay.
so I can't really like say, but
No, I want to make sure I'm like hearing from your perspective. Are you saying that you, because like, look, I mean, I as you said earlier, like I can dress like this, but I got a lot of basque energy, and I've always had guy friends, so I've had conversations with guys about this. But I think I want to make sure I'm kind of hearing your perspective. Are you saying that you think that a lot of men, when they're saying that, are saying it from an insecurity of having a small penis?
yeah, it's having a small winky or
Yeah.
being able to not perform. You know what I mean? Like regardless, like I feel a lot of it's like really insecure because I'll be real, like I don't know too many. If you like, there's not too many people that really actually honestly have a problem with people having a higher body count. They just portray it unless they're
Yeah.
insecure. And that's all I've seen from like the men. I also don't have very many male friends. I'll be a buck. Like my whole life, never really had any male friends. I'm just gonna be real with you, which
This
people probably surprised by that, but
this is why I think this is a great intersection to have this conversation, because you've had your experience and then you just said I have not had a lot of male friends, and I've had my experience and I mostly have had male friends most of my life. So I think it's actually a great way, and also double displays that like non-binary is it's part of an essence. Okay, like the type of femme or masca or any energy you carry is just who you are, and that can be displayed in other ways, and not other ways, in many ways. Again, one, I think that when it comes to dick size, I think a lot of men have insecurities that aren't justified. It's almost kind of like how women are insecure about their bodies because of what they see on magazines, right? Men see certain things in porn. We have jokes and certain things that are acceptable in society and culture. This joke about having having a small penis, like I make it, okay? I make this joke. Now, at the same time, I do make it strategically. Like I'm pretty good at figuring out who has a big dick. So I feel like I'm pretty good when I tag a small penis. But I tend to not use it, try to not to use it too casually, because one, I think there's probably a lot of men that think they have a small dick and they don't. Like I think a lot of men don't understand what an average dick size is. I don't think that most women, even like most women most women, like a lot of women have maybe had what people would think is a small dick and they haven't known that. Like I can't emphasize enough that like if you've gotten already to the point where like you naked, you about to have sex, just like men don't tend to like look at your toenails and be like, does that nail polish not match? I am not doing this. Like by the time you're at that moment, women aren't about to be like, oh my God, or like it's rare. Now, not saying that people don't have those stories, but also people lie a lot. We're not comfortable talking about sex. So when I hear a lot of these things, a lot of times I don't like, at this point in my life, I'm like, I don't believe you. I'm like, well, let me pull out the statistics, honey, because based on what, like, that's just not true. So, average dick size for everyone is like 4 to 6 inches. And guess what, women? You can't eyeball that, okay? You can't eyeball it. You have to go get a fucking measuring tape. And like I've done it on a couple of my boyfriends because I was very curious. I want to know exactly. But like y'all don't know the difference. Some of y'all taking 8, 9 inches don't even know. Like you don't even know. So I think part of it is really this narrative that we create within society and culture and politics, church, all these things interconnecting to where we don't actually talk about the truth or the type of sex we're actually having, or whether we like big or small dicks. I mean, I don't give a fuck about your size of the dick. You can have a giant yacht, but if you can't, like I told Big Villainous the other day, like if you can't drive it off the like we ain't going anywhere if you can't drive it. So like it don't matter like the equipment, it matters what you can do with it. If you are very aware, no, I have a micro penis, then bitch, you should be doing tongue exercises and finger exercises just every day. That's what you should be doing, because that can also bring you have something to bring to the table. Also, a lot of women don't like to put a 9-inch dick in their mouth. It's
bro.
a lot. Like
Like
that's a lot. So it's,
we
like
will.
I guess too, it's just kind of like open up your mind to like the
The,
not but porn. Stop. Just porn is not sex. That is not regular sex.
big
Like
facts.
that's the biggest thing. Like even if you're kinky, you think you're kinky and you've seen it in porn, that's not what it is. That is not how people who live kinky 24/7 lifestyles do it. That is porn. And it is made by white people. Like I can't emphasize enough.
Racist white people. Racist white people. Man, I don't know if I saw this interview by Rico Strongman. I was like, and he was talking about all the fuck shit that they be, how racist they are and shit. And then they'll literally call you a nigger to your face and all sorts of crazy shit. Like it's like wild. But so
Hey,
here's the thing is I also gotta say though about like
sorry,
real
we have
quick,
to add that as a topic. I'm going to write it down, but we need to add just like the porn industry in general as a topic.
okay, most def. One thing I do want to add too, though, is like we had talked about this a little bit, and this will come up on the different talking about is there such thing as too hung, right? But I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of femmes, and I'm sure there's femmes in this audience that probably know this that will not and do not want somebody this too big. I'll be a buck with you. It's a real thing, and they'll be into you and find out. Like the idea of it being too small, I don't know what it was like, but if Posh saying like straight up that it's not going to stop anything. But what I will tell you is being too big will stop some shit dead in its tracks. I've had it happen, no cap, and I'm not trying to like brag or nothing, but that's some real shit, and it really sucks, honestly. But so like all this is like really. Some of the we'll talk about that in that episode. Actually, we'll leave that to that episode.
No, I mean we'll give a little teaser, because I think you wanted to bring a panel in for that.
Yeah, definitely do.
Yeah, but I just wanted to add a little bit, just because if people are listening, I just always want to give like try to pique people's confidence up, because I know these are topics that people don't have other people. Y'all don't talk to your friends about this shit. So a lot of y'all are watching this shit because you know you're having a conversation with us about it because y'all don't talk to your friends about this, right? Again, I have actually heard more stories of women saying that they had someone too big than women complaining about small penises. Like just in my experience in life, I've had that more, and mainly because of pain, right? Now, some of that is also their uneducation, because there's positions, like there's strategies, there's tactics, there's lots of things you can do to experience. There's toys, little things you can add to be able, like if you love somebody, everything about them, but the only thing is the dick too thick or the dick too wide, or the long, I like reach out. It doesn't even have to be to me. I can send you to some other sex coaches. There are whole ass things that can help you still be able to experience that, both have experience pleasure without having to be painful. So I think too, part of that is when you have something painful, they just don't go back because again, the lack of education, right? And if you'll reach out, if you'll ask, sometimes you just have to send an email like to somebody and they'll answer it for you. There's classes on some of these things. There's a lot of things that could help, where like you don't have to let that be a deal breaker. Because I mean, like, I don't know, that's like a woman not like, I don't know. I feel like that's like a woman not having giant boobs and that being a deal breaker. And it's like, well, I mean, could you not work around it? Could not find some ways to work around it? So I just say that because I don't want people to like miss out on the love of their life because something might be painful or they just don't know how to like work with the equipment they got. And I also don't want people who have big dicks not to be getting some whatever that you want, like whatever is you want on that dick. So I just try to give a little hope out there that like, don't get discouraged. We do whole classes on this shit, okay? No matter what size, no matter what you look like.
I want to respond this real quick. Yeah. I want to be clear. I didn't say partners for a reason because, like I said, I'm gender fluid and I'm bisexual. So when I said femmes, women specifically, is because that's been in my experience. Actually, when it comes to people who aren't femmes, they've loved it. But you know, I mean, it's a whole different conversation. I think they're probably looking for that though too. So that might be part of the reason they loved it. We'll pull this up real quick. The fact that the BBC fetishization got so big blows my mind, and I gotta say, I don't think I didn't surprise me at all. I feel like it's been a thing since
It didn't get big. It's always
slavery.
Since slavery, since before the country started.
Yeah, I think it's just been a thing. I
The
think
I mean, you used to be sold the price that you would be sold for as a male enslaved person was oftentimes based on your dick size. If you'd like to dive into deeper in some of the history on this, again, I would do a shameless plug, but please go check out my documentary, particularly chapter 6 and 7. It talks about this. So that could probably be again its own fucking episode topic, BBC, and some of the experiences that I've heard other people have within kink industry and like the kink community and stuff like that. But that is a fetish that has been around. It hasn't even been a fetish. I mean, it was used. It was used as a way to sell. It was used when you were, breaking the buck back in slave times. There is a lot of connection to history and racism and literally our fucking what our country is built on with that fetish. So, yeah.
It's wild. I didn't even legit when I said that I didn't even see this shit. I was like, oh damn, they beat me to it. They beat me to it.
Yeah. Oh, they did because there are so many racists. It literally stems all the way back to slave trade. Yeah. Picking your fetish is just sexual racism. Oh, okay. Like I don't know if you want me to talk about race play, but I teach classes on race play, and I know people have a lot of opinions on race play. But I'll put this disclaimer out here. If you like race play as a person, as a brown person, as a colonized person, if that's a healthy experience for you, then go ahead and experience that with whoever you would like to privately, and just keep it to yourself. Because a lot of people just they're not ready to hear about that. They don't understand the healing process that's going on there. And then my last disclaimer is you can't do race play with racist. So the white person cannot ask someone to do race play. If you're curious about that topic, again, I have multiple videos on that topic on my channel, the MP Experience, and I have a full class on my Patreon. But just for the people out there who have those fetishes, because I know they exist, sometimes those things are very healing and liberating experiences for us, and you should be able to explore those with people who you know very well for years, probably, and trust to be in that vulnerable space with. But you are valid, and you are also valid if you don't like race play at all. You don't have to like both things are valid. But also don't project what you think is race play on other people, because sometimes people play with people outside their race. And if a black femme wants to experience something, they should be allowed to do that. If a black man wants it, if a black non-binary person wants to experience something, I'm about them being able to experience pleasure, which has been robbed from us since we've stepped on this country's land. So my advice to you is just keep it to yourself, because a lot of people in the public aren't ready.
Support up there. Man, I mean, I think people don't analyze how stuff can be people working their way through trauma, and it can be healing even if it is replicating the trauma. And I think that's something, people aren't ready for that, because it makes them feel some way. And I understand why it makes them feel some way, because white supremacy in the society is huge. But I think that's the thing too, man. I think that's the thing too. People gotta that'd be a whole show in itself.
I mean, it could be a whole, look, all these topics could go deep, because all these topics are hundreds of years of psychology and history and racism and oppression. They're connected to it. It's something that I like to talk about, because I tie rope. I tie shibari rope bondage, and I do suspensions, right? And I've had this conversation with many people, because my bottoms are black. Some of them are black or people of color, they're Latin, and people are like, that's that's harmful. And I'm like, look, you don't know that we cried and processed so much trauma after that scene. You don't see the scenes we do privately, right? You don't know what it's like to be able to put yourself in a vulnerable position like that with someone that you fully trust, and then be able to not have to worry about all the things you worry about constantly for 45 minutes, to just be and exist. And that is very healing for people. So I don't like when people shame those things because of what's going on in culture, because people need a safe space to explore those things. And this is one place where everyone in America is repressed sexually. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on, because America represses your sex. Okay, capitalism represses your sex, and I think people should be able to experience that. And I've seen the beauty in which we create, in which we explore kink and fetish and bondage. And guess what? Just like everything else, we do it way better than white people. And it's more healing, and it's got more magic and more power. So I just like to put that disclaimer for people out there who might be watching and not commenting, who are interested in those things. Please go to my channel. You can feel free to reach out to me. I will talk to anybody. We'll set up a Zoom call. You're not alone. There's like there's a whole crew. We have a club. We have meetings. There's a Discord server. Hit me up.
Man. So you heard it here. You heard it here. Hit up
Church, honey. Church.
Yeah, man. I think hold on, let's see what's in the chat. I can't see all of it because some of it cuts off at the end, like down. Well, I just hit it by accident.
Not in kink shame wave. This is how you handle trauma. More power to you. Oh, sorry. I think that was connected to one of their other comments. In my mind, it was like the great replacement nonsense, but sexualized for white folks. But I never tied it into that. Yeah. Sorry. I was just looking at his last comment.
Oh man, I had so many jokes about the great replacement fears. Oh my god, you don't even know. I'll be like, bruh, don't worry, we'll replace you. You already know the white lady. You know what time it is. The whole thing is like that's what they're afraid of, though. For real, it goes back to like the idea of infringing on the white woman's purity or whatever. Talk about purity politics, like, oof, whole baggage back there.
The great replacement theory is bullshit, number one, because brown and colonized people are the majority in the world. So, like, it only works in certain, like, the whole concept. Like, you didn't need to be replaced. We've always outnumbered across the world.
They originally came from black wombs, so the fuck you mean?
Hello. I think really what that theory is talking about is the replacement of the power structure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but they want to link it to identity. We want to link it to being as an individual person. It's not our fault. We're European. Nobody has talked about European people.
Right. That's how you have to sell it to the masses. But what they are really saying, translated, is white power. The great replacement of white power. Someone said there seems to be a lot of trauma processing in BDSM in general. Just like in every single thing you guys are doing in the world. At least we're doing it consciously with consent and negotiating. Like, people process in trauma everywhere because everyone's traumatized. So I just don't want the stigma of like people who do BDSM are traumatized. We all traumatize. You just process in a different way. But you should try our way. Like, you should come to the dark side. We've got cookies.
My race thinks Google is committing genocide against whites. They think that interracial couples popping up when they search white couples equals genocide.
Oh, good.
Okay, if that's a genocide, that's the easiest genocide I ever heard of.
I know, right? We didn't even have to kill nobody. If only that's what they had tried. So watching YouTube yesterday, but I learned a lot of cool, also the scary stuff. Shout out to being really high.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know. I wish I could smoke inside. I'd be smoking blunt right now, but I just can't smoke inside. So, we stuck. Well, we got good lighting though. So
we do.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah for the lighting, Lord Jesus. Because they didn't make the lights for our skin. So it's work. Trust me. I've been late at night crying trying to get some good lighting. I hope sexy genocide. I mean, maybe we can take that narrative to the debate bros, and when they say white genocide, we'll be like, yeah, so what white genocide means is that we done fucked y'all out of existence.
It ain't our fault y'all can't get over your race fetishes because y'all suppressed it so long that you didn't realize you're attracted to all peoples. All peoples can be like, you know what I mean? Hey, fuck it. You know what I mean? Oh, also, here, I just gotta say this. It is racist when white people say they outside the race, but it isn't racist when anybody else says it. And here's why: white people is not a fucking race. I mean, white people is a race, but race isn't ethnicity, a group, a background, a culture. It isn't any of those things, and that's why that's racist. You know what I mean? It's not like you're saying I'm Irish and I only want to date Irish people. It's like that is legitimate. No problem with that. When you say you only want to date white people, that is only associated with white supremacy. But when black people say they only want to date black people, it's saying people from here that are black only want to date people from here that's black. Just like if someone's like, oh, I only want to date Nigerians because I'm Nigerian. Like, that's all legitimate. You're trying to hold your culture together. That's real. But white is not a culture.
It's the difference between nationality and race.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of, yeah. I mean,
like,
I think that's
ethnicity. Like, it's like there's a difference.
Facts.
And it also is connected to culture. And that's typically often what people are saying is like they want to be with someone who's maybe connected to a similar culture. And like that I can understand.
Facts. And white is not a culture though. No. And actually, white is the absence of culture. That's
exactly.
Also
please say that.
That's also why it's so racist, because it's literally the absence of culture. So you're just doing it off someone's complexion and the upholding of white supremacy. And that's why it's racist when white people say it. But if someone was like, I'm Welsh, I only want to date Welsh people, nobody gonna care about that. Yo, that's real. Hold Welsh up, nigga. Hold it down. You know what I mean? Fuck. Ain't nobody mad about that. Anyways, I should have said just a little tangent, but I had to throw it out.
It's not a tangent. We preaching up in here. Hallelujah. Amen. God is good all the time.
And to be clear, this so people know my politics on it. I don't have an issue with interracial dating at all, personally. I don't have an issue with people staying with inside their culture at all. I think both stances is valid as fuck. I think when you talk about interracial dating, we have to evaluate the power dynamics and situations going on there, especially when you're talking about dating white folks. But I don't think that's inherently wrong either. So just to be clear, though I will a lot of times be like, yeah, you know, black people saying black people is a good thing. You know what I mean? That's not the only option though. I do think it's a good thing just because, you know, I think I do believe in like trying to keep some of us, you know, if you feel like you should keep blackness, then that's real. If you would think you should keep, like I said, Nigerian or like that's real. As long as you ain't posing on other people, you know what I mean? As long as that's your standard for what you want to do, you know what I mean? I ain't mad if you want to have just little black babies. I'm not mad at you for that. See what I'm saying?
I just get love. I just want you to be loved. So whatever body that comes in that you're happy with, like that's what I'm about. My partner is white. I've had partners of every race and gender. I don't really care because I don't fall in love physically with people first anyways. I'm a sapiosexual, okay? You gotta lick my brain to get my pussy wet. So it doesn't really matter what body you are in. We'll figure that out later. So I just want people to find love. And like I think sometimes even the question, like even having debates about interracial dating or, you know, black love or whatever else, like black love is black people being loved. And I don't even know what's conversation because this is not like, it's not going to be like a binary. It's not like all of a sudden a law is going to come down and be like, oh, this is how you have, like, date who you fall in love with. Please date who loves you genuinely, who sees you, who does things for you. Like I'm actually the next video, I just wrote a script the other day on how to love, because I feel like it's something even within capitalism, we've forgotten what it feels like. Some of us haven't ever gotten to experience it because of childhood and abuse. And we need to reconnect with what that really is. So be loved. I don't know. I know I'm going to like, I'm going to go from one, I'd be out here ranting and I'd be angry, but like at the end of the day, this is my heart. Like, I'm just like, well, people just love each other, however, authentically, the whole human and the soul. And then go from there. Because you see that. And then my last thing will just be like, I think a lot of these problems stem because some Black people are dating racist. That's the other problem. You can't date racist. So also make sure you're doing your homework. Make sure they're actually an accomplice. And do that in the beginning of the relationship.
So I just this is my general belief system. I'm like this, like, or this is my general thing. I believe this is not the right word for what I'm gonna say. So like I'll be very clear. There's a difference between preference and discriminate, right? So if people discriminate against anybody outside their own like group or ethnicity, that's fine. Like if you're like I said, Nigerian and want to date down here, that's cool. But for me, like I the way I see it is my preference, honestly, is dark skinned black women, but I don't necessarily discriminate if I can fall for you. It's just that's the whole thing. I don't fall for people easy, so usually I just discriminate against human beings. Like I don't really want to be in love with you. We can have fun, but past that, I'm cool. Unless you like I said, unless like that the mindsets, the
Yeah.
like the principles and the things we believe in line up in the right way. You know what I mean? Nothing of us have to agree on everything, but that's just how I view it. But also, like, I know, despite my preference, that my preference doesn't necessarily prefer me, at least not no more. Maybe like in the mid '90s, maybe when light skinned niggas were still in. But you know what I mean?
What
We out
are
as
you
fuck.
talking
We out as
about?
fuck.
Oh
We
my
out as
goodness.
fuck.
Okay, we need to dispel some of these misconceptions. Number one, so many dark-skinned women that I talk to, like this was something I know I've observed grow like in my 20s and stuff. Dark-skinned women always wanted to date light-skinned motherfuckers, and
In the
light-skinned
'90s.
women always wanted to date dark-skinned motherfuckers. Like I was always like, what we doing up here? We always doing this little like caramel chocolate thing. But I loved it because more beauty to it. Like I love like just yes, humans beautiful. But like that's just to dispel that. That was my experience. Like
That was my experience. That was the reality in the '90s. Once we got to the 2000s, shit changed. Nigga, like some people were
and
like,
then how old were you in the 90s? How much pussy was you pulling in the 90s?
I wasn't. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Look, by the time I got into the point that I was old enough to really be getting into shit, light skinned niggas were out. I'm just saying, it just was gone. We were not in no more. I was like, damn, wrong
I didn't know
generation.
type of human was a trend. Okay, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't. Maybe I didn't get the alert. Maybe I wasn't that cool. I didn't know. Like,
oh shit! I'm being real though. I'll be real. That's been my experience. It seems like a lot of light skinned niggas are saying the same thing nowadays too. They're like, yeah, we kind of out. Everybody's like dark, handsome niggas. Like, oh, dark skinned niggas are handsome. Like we're like light skinned. Oh, well, y'all were yesterday's.
I mean, well, do we want to really get into this? Do we want to really get into like the history of like where those things come from?
I mean, I feel like it comes from a good place. Dark skinned niggas get more love because there was a lot of bullshit happening, right? As far as like dark skinned niggas being seen as ugly and dark skinned women being seen as ugly. So I think that dark skinned folks get more love is a good thing. I just wish they still love me though.
No, there is actually. Shut up about Drake. Drake ruined your image. Stop. One human should not be able to define a whole like demographic of people. Okay, that's literally what we're trying.
Wait, who said that? Where? Who said that? Where?
A1 at the bottom said Drake ruined your image. I think. Also, they were talking shit about light skinned niggers way before Drake was even a thing. So let's not play. Okay, Big Bill has said in the '90s, and Drake wasn't doing nothing but pretending to be in a wheelchair. So, let's be real. Okay, I like.
That was a bar though. That was funny. I can't
for a long time.
That was a bar though. That's a bar though. That's funny as hell. Oh shit. Oh man.
I'm sorry. People just hating. Drake's not one of my favorite rappers or anything, but Drake has made some music, and I know whether you want to admit it or not, y'all listen to that shit privately. That was good. And like I said, I just told you his verse that he just dropped with Jack Harlow, whatever the fuck his name is. If you haven't heard it, I would at least go listen to Drake's verse. That was lit.
Okay, I just gotta say, it's Jack Harlow's best song is the one he did with Lil Nas X. In the story. Over.
I do.
That's the best one.
I don't disagree. I'm not a Jack Harlow fan. I think let me put it this way. I don't listen to Jack Harlow.
That shit was fire though. I'm saying that Lil Nas X.
No, it
was fire.
It was. I'm not a Jack Harlow fan, but I like to keep up with. I try to keep up with the culture, and I can't. The release the other day. But I also know Jack Harlow been out here like giving some love to my sisters, and they loving that shit. Num 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 num. And so like if y'all mad, like if like black rappers mad, it's like, well, I don't know what to tell y'all. Like this is what I be in some black woman groups, some fucking chat. Like this is what they saying. They saying Jack Harlow be sweet to us.
Man, I just gotta say this. Light skinned niggas don't claim Drake. We'll claim J. Cole. We don't claim Drake though.
It's okay. I'll claim Drake. Poor Drake. He just wants to be part of the crew so bad too. It's so sad.
that's what makes it so much worse. He wants to be so bad. Just chill. He's like, no, I gotta be down. I gotta be Pusha T in this battle. Pusha T kick my ass. Pusha T just kick my ass. No, I'm done. I think okay. So I've mixed things about Jack Harlow. I like that Jack Harlow has love for Black women, and I also don't like it. I like that he has love for Black women, but then I also feel like he's the type of motherfucker that is zipping the situation to some degree, in a way that's kind of problematic. In a way he like, you know what I mean. But because he's very charismatic, it gets looked over. You know what I mean?
I think we'll see. I think time will tell. Like he's got a couple albums out, and time will tell. He seems to have like, I've seen some, at his shows or like, stories that have popped up where he's seen me. It's always like are you practicing what you preach? So like I see what the message is, and then I want to see what you do it, right? So far, he seems to be practicing what he's preached, but I don't. It's not been enough time to tell. We'll see. But he's got situations where he's stood by what he's saying, outside of being like on in a performance arena, right?
It feels a little fetishy though. It feels a little fetishy. It feels a little fetishizing. When I watch how Jack Harlow moves, so I don't think he's like extremely malicious with it, but I feel like it's a little fetishy. You know what I mean? The way he moves about it.
My question to you would be, how does a white man who authentically appreciates beautiful women who are not white, how does he express that without it not? How does he express that in a way that wouldn't feel fetishy?
I mean, I think it. Okay, so here's the thing. I think there's examples of it, but I think you can't really do it in the mainstream. I think the mainstream is really not for it, and that could be just part of it. But then also don't like the fact that you will go that direction, because I feel like even in his videos, the way he does, it's kind of like a fetish, and also Black women liking you, especially as a white dude, equates to a lot of capital. Like, you know what I mean? That's a really big thing. So I see those things.
So I see
someone who someone hold on. So I see someone like what's his name? Marlon something. He's like a white rapper. I forget. I can't remember his full name, but was it Marlon Webb or something like that? He's pretty solid about like homage to Black folks in general. I'm trying to remember his name.
I know who you're talking about. Marlon Craft.
Yeah, Marlon Craft. Yeah, I think he does a very solid job of being really respectful and of being legitimate and being real. Even though he looks super square.
He's also like but if you look at I'm sure you've seen some of his music videos. That's someone that doesn't mind not making things feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like Jack Harlow makes music to like, you know what I'm saying? And like Marlon Craft makes music that makes you think, you know what I'm saying? That is like his music video. I've watched his music videos a few times because I'm like, damn, this motherfucker saying some shit. And also taking risk. I don't see Jack Harlow as someone that's going to take that kind of risk in his art.
I think he's. Yeah, I think the thing, as I said, I'm being honest. I don't think the mainstream really wants that to happen either. No, so I think he's playing into the mainstream. But I don't think I don't think that's necessarily cool just because that's what you have to do to make it. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I feel like it's a kind of fetishy in that way specifically.
I think too, once you get to a certain point, especially with the awareness of capitalism in the system. I mean, it's hard to look at much music right now because I'm very aware how the music industry works. I'm very aware that half these artists are under like fucking slave contracts and don't make fucking shit, and that Spotify and these fucking like studios or whatever they're fucking signing contracts with are robbing them blind, and that they are absolutely controlling what art is getting seen and heard. Because if they weren't, there would be other artists that I've seen and heard that are not as big that would be bigger because they're better, they're more talented. Like, and they like, as far as female MCs, like we don't even have any female MCs right now other than like Doja Cat because none of them write their own music. Right? Like that are in the mainstream.
Yeah, I
It's a
mean,
lot of performance.
that's a really big conversation though, because there's so much to that. There's so many layers to that. You know what I mean? And there's so many layers to just this. Anybody who it seems like anybody who plays a role of a sex symbol does not write their own music. We're talking about Drake. We're talking about like all these people just be like what are you talking about? Like a lot of femmes who can put in a role of sex symbols inside the music. They a lot of them don't write their own music, and it's really frustrating because there's a lot of MCs, female MCs that are dope as fuck, write their own bars and everything. And they don't get to play. Like
No,
and some of them are still pretty fucking like sexual, pretty fucking all that, and like can still be a sex symbol, but they don't get elevated because they write their own bars and they're gonna speak it from their perspective versus the perspective that people want, like the white dudes want them to hear, specifically these rich white dudes that run the music industry. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. No, I agree. I agree with you because I've been doing a lot of research for this and lately since I started writing, and I think there's been I might actually end up doing a video about this, but there's been a few artists where I've seen where they came out maybe 5, 6 years ago, and they it seemed like they were being pretty authentically themselves. They were maybe queer. Their songs were maybe about having femme relationships, and then they've gone away. And then when they've come back, it's a completely different image. It's absolutely geared towards men. There's less verbiage in the music about the lesbian, the queer, even though it's still kind of represented in that very like this is being performed for men kind of way. And I just see that like a lot of some of the best, to me, some of the best hip hop and art that is coming out right now is coming from people with these identities that are queer, that are trans, that are gay, that are non-binary. And
shout
it
out to
doesn't seem
Cupcake.
like the music industry is ready to fuck with that. Especially when it comes to femme, well, not just femme and mass, but like as far as femme MCs, like I found stuff, but I have to dig to find like these artists are not getting promoted, and they're way better than what I'm hearing on the radio.
I mean, shout out to
They just
Cupcake.
won't. Yeah, who?
Cupcake.
Yes.
That's one. Shout out to Cupcake. From what comes to mind off the top of my head, you know what I mean? She's super fire, and she hits all the boxes. But the two things that go: one, she's queer, and so they be trying to and has her own voice. Queer and has her own voice, but also she's a bigger body person that has her own voice and not ashamed of it. So those two things end up going against her, especially when they intersect, which is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been watching around enough to see that there's a trend going on here with this. Yes, I was trying to remember what Cupcake looked like. I love their stuff.
I definitely write my own music, motherfucker. You got me fucked up.
Yeah, come on now.
See, they're not international sex symbols like me. I'm international sex symbols like Austin Powers, man.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
International queer mystery. You know what I mean? Let's go.
There's a great artist that came out by the name of Doechii, that is doing that. I mean, I hate to say that came out, that I recently discovered, that is doing like, it's got some real like what would I call it, like an allegory and stuff in their videos, and is talented as fuck, can sing and rap, like, and is clearly writing their own music. But like I had to search to find them, and like one of their like 20 seconds from one of their songs has been viral on TikTok. It just seems like nobody went to go figure out who actually made the song or listen to the rest of it. And that's another thing too that's been going on in the music industry with TikTok, is TikTok has taken it over. And like a lot of these record companies are like, if you can't make a song that can go viral on TikTok, like we're not releasing it as a single.
I mean, we're really off topic, but I just want to say this.
We are, but it is a good topic.
Fuck the record companies, man. You don't need the record
companies.
companies. You can get money without it. You know what I mean? It's hard, but you don't need to even do that, man. Like, they just gonna jack you, and half the time not even promote you anyways. Take all your money, you end up in debt, owing them money, and you got the ball out for a couple of days for like maybe like 30, 90, maybe even 6 months, right? You get the ball out, and then you owe them all that money, and they just
and they
robbed you.
I mean, there's too many artists that have come out recently where you hear, and these contracts are ridiculous. They're putting artists that are like 6, 8 record album contracts, right? Where like you're in contract, that's years.
They're
That's
trying to do you
years.
like the TLC. That's what it is.
Yeah, like this shit is insane. How bad it's gotten, and like yes, for an artist that gets to like a Megan Thee Stallion level, maybe it's more beneficial for her to stay in that situation. But if you're a young artist, if you're an artist and you are not from the upper middle class or fucking upper class, don't sign to a label because they're just going to either steal your art and give it to another artist, because most of these artists are buying their way into the industry anyways, or you're not going to get the deal you want and they're going to eventually steal your art. Like you're just going to get dragged along. So find community, find other people to make music with, and release your own fucking music on your YouTube channel or fucking whatever else. Create your own fucking, if you need to figure out how to do it, I do know how to do it. I've looked it up, but like you can create your own fucking studio or whatever else, record company, and release your music underneath it. Plus you don't own any of your music on top of that. After all that, you're not going to even own it. That's robbery, is what that is. That's
don't own your masters
of your imagination.
Yeah, man. And like the thing is, even you can go track it back to this too, because the thing of it'll just perpetuate those same. They'll get people on there to perpetuate the same old shit that we were just talking about like who's loose and who's not, whoop. Even get femmes to perpetuate that, because let's be real, the people writing these songs for a lot of the people that are like big out there, like you point out, are a bunch of dudes. A bunch of dudes. A lot of time, like, you know what I mean? And those dudes, yeah, a lot of them are black, but they're also employed by white dudes who are telling them what to write. And then they just turn those words into that music. So just this trickle down of highway robbery to some degree, and misogyny and racism and all the things. You know what I mean? But
absolutely. No, and I feel like you touched on, like, look, we can always bring it back to the topic, but I think you touched on a good thing, because one of the things that kind of is bothering me as someone who is, trying to celebrate all femme presenting people and is not trying to tear other people down. It's hard to find hip hop music with femme artists that can brag without shitting on other people. Like, can you brag about, like, I'm a bad bitch, and then say something else about how you're a bad bitch instead of having to be like, and your pussy stank? Like, can we do something where it's like you can celebrate your badness and so can the femme next to you without you having to put somebody down? Because it's like the only other thing that is talked about other than like Fendi bags and fucking twerking and a lot of these songs and sex is how much better I am than other bitches. And it's like, I'm great for me. But like, I don't want to have to tear another bitch down. And guess what? A lot of us don't want to have to tear another bitch down to feel good. And that's not what makes us feel good. And that's something for me that is just getting old, where I'm just like, or even just like when, and doesn't even matter, like femme, men, artists, whatever, this idea of like, you hear three bars and it's about pulling someone, right? Like you pulled somebody, whatever else, right? And then you have to add the like last bar where it was like from her boyfriend. And it's like, what are we doing? We out here wondering why we can't find love in relationships, but every single song is saying, I steal your girl, I'm gonna steal your man, I'm gonna fuck your girl, he had a boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, is there no single people out here? From my perspective, everyone be single. Most of us are single and lonely. So I don't understand who we pull. Like, I see some of these underlining messages that affect why people say shit like that bitch is loose. Like that, like it gets subconsciously ingrained into what's expected and what's done, what's allowed in society, or what love is or what relationships are. And I think that can be very destructive.
As somebody who hella respects the gladiatorial sport of hip hop, and like sometimes like I can respect the they got on better than you ain't shit, but like people said about racist comedy and sexist comedy, nigga, the shit is getting old. Do something new. I won't even say don't roast and drag motherfuckers, but drag them in a different fucking way for one.
There's so many other ways.
Like, you know what I mean? Be clever. Hip hop was
be clever, be authentic, but like the same lines over and over again. right? It's just they're the same lines reorganized with a different beat. And like, don't get me wrong, beats coming out right now are legit, but your lyrics don't have to be shit. There are songs I listen to that I'm like, damn, I wish they just hadn't put lyrics on this. Like,
here's the thing: is the lyric age is not at the forefront no more. It's like it's not even just the beat, so but I gotta give him more credit than that. It's not just the beat; it's the cadences. Motherfuckers who have like the best melodies, the best cadences, make it even if our lyrics are utter fucking trash, right? But it sounds cool. So it's a little like you're like, oh shit.
But you do learn the lyrics. Like you do, it's part of listening to the music. I'm not saying that. Like,
I'm not saying you don't. What I'm saying is like people are not making off lyrics no more. I'm saying the artists that are rapping, that are making it, is making it off the cadences, the way it sounds, not necessarily the words.
Because that's what capitalism wants. That's what white supremacy wants. It says, please give us the culture that we can sell, but don't give us the pain and the trauma and the thing that actually made hip hop. Like, we don't want none of that. Like, because we can't sell that, but we can sell this.
Like, look, think about how many songs just don't even make sense when you look at the words on the paper.
I know, because I read the lyrics. I listen to lyrics. Lyrics are important to me. I feel betrayed when I find out you don't write your lyrics. Like, I feel betrayed, particularly with rappers. Other parts of the industry, fine. I understand that business, but when it comes to being like a rapper, or you want to call yourself an MC, if you don't write your own lyrics, I feel like lied to. You a liar. That's betraying. I thought that's what you felt. Like, I thought that's what you went through, and so now you lie. Now sometimes I don't even want to listen to your song anymore.
Also, I do want to say this. I'm not a fan of Megan, but I do love how Cardi's song WAP just pissed off all the prudish dudes. That was kind of funny. They were so mad. You remember Ben Shapiro's little like thing that went everywhere? They're just upset. He was so upset. He's like,
for the memes of Ben Shapiro, I stand by WAP. But I do have to look, my opinions are publicly online, so I have to stand by them. I did a couple live streams about WAP. As a femme presenting person, I didn't appreciate the timing. I love the song. Music video was great. I thought the timing was not what the culture needed right then. Because there was it was the same. It was not long after the George Floyd summer in 2020. And just when it came out, my thing was like, ooh, we needed something. It wasn't this. This should have waited, because there was a lot of imagery in there that comes from slavery. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It comes from white male fantasies. And as someone who has been a sex worker for white men of that caliber that make those type of decisions, I know what that looks like to them. And at the same time, I want women to be able to celebrate their sexual liberation. But by being educated on some of these perspectives, or having some of these experiences, you can see how other people are looking at it. Hold on one second. Are you busy right now? I'm live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where'd I go? Okay. So while I'm gonna respond to you while they're coming back, but I'm still gonna respond to you right now.
Sorry. Let me apologize real quick. I take care of a lot of people in my house, so sorry if I have to keep getting up.
I feel like that. I gotta disagree with you on this. I think there's like the lyrical miracle people, but they're not actually lyrical, right? So I think a lot of the Eminem type folks, they're like the lyrical miracles. They're like, shit don't necessarily have to make sense. It just like gotta sound cool. Like, oh, you rhymed it all these ways. Versus like, I don't think Eminem is. Everybody's like, Eminem's like greatest lyricist ever. I'm like, nah, bro, he's really not.
I don't think
he's really
I don't
not
think Eminem
at all.
I'm not saying he's the greatest ever, but Eminem writes.
Eminem
writes lyrics. Eminem's lyrics make sense to me. Sometimes, like, let me just put it this way. Sometimes I like having to look up sometimes what you meant by that lyric. I don't mind that. I don't need to know right up, because I like allegory, right? But Eminem's skill at writing, we have to give credit. We got to give credit where credit's due. I'm not saying he's the GOAT. I don't think there should be a GOAT. Whatever. I don't really care about that. Non-hierarchical. But like, we like that shit fucked up. Like people felt that shit no matter what color you were, at different ages in their life. Like I was on the back of the bus with fucking white boys, almost like fucking in tears, fucking rapping that shit, even though they grew up with a fucking Mercedes. Like something they went through made them feel something. So I don't know. I think he's at least a poet.
I mean, see, I mean, I think he was better when he was early than he is now. I think though he's way more problematic early on than he is now. He's way less problematic now, except for a couple things that were kind of anti-black that he did. Specifically around his beef with Lord Jamar that were just out of pocket that kind of deserved to get slapped for. But you know, there's like I just don't think he was really as good. I feel like if he wasn't for him being white, it would have never like clicked like that.
Oh,
I think
see,
one of the I mean, I'm sure of it, man. There's people way doper than him that never. He sold so many because he was white, like because he could relate to white people. He was like, those were a big part of why he was able to develop such a big fan base, and that's why people are like, oh, he's great. So nah, he's not even close. And the thing is, and what really for me with Eminem, I'm gonna stop asking him to say about Eminem. What really pushed the line for me, where I don't like fuck with this shit anymore, is that he started trying to make himself the king of hip hop. It was like, nigga, you were in hip hop as the jester, bro. You can't be the king of some shit that has African roots. I'm sorry, my nigga, you can't. It's just not something that's gonna bring to you. But also, you're not that dope. Like, I'm sorry, you did some cool shit and you were funny. I enjoyed laughing at your fucking songs. That shit was cool. But that was a specific lane. It wasn't like, you know, to put him up there with like Pac, or I don't even fuck with Biggie, but even Biggie, Pac or Biggie, or like it's just no, you're not even that, you're not even put him with like motherfucking what's his name? He was like, everybody sees the greatest lyricists all the time, usually. He's old school, but never got really famous. Fuck. He just came out having a sex addiction. He started talking about having a sex addiction. I'm forgetting his name right now. I wasn't
I know who you're talking about.
I wasn't a big fan of him either, but he was definitely dope lyrically.
Nas?
No. He's way less popular than Nas.
Okay.
But he's way more in the culture, notorious for
Rakim?
being dope. What?
Rakim,
yeah, Rakim. So yeah, Rakim, like he doesn't stand torture Rakim lyrically either. Like there's like a lot of lyricists too. I think he don't really go against Busta or any of them, to be honest. I think a lot of things he just was way in the back. He was like a middle range rapper. I'm not gonna say he was trash. He wasn't trash. That's if someone says he's trash, besides him as a person being trash, then no. His role right now is trash. I say he's trash because a lot of times, but it's only because his role right now is trash. But actually, lyrically, he wasn't trash. Musically, he was kind of boo-boo. Like a lot of his songs weren't really like very good music. But then he had like, you know, the way he wrote was like was interesting. He can make things like his rhymes were kind of cool. But I don't think they didn't have the cadences, or it didn't hit the way that like the greats hit. You know what I mean? I don't feel like that. I feel like, but he sold more than the greats, and it's because he was so, white America, you know what I mean? Shit.
But I mean, like, we can't sit there and be like, oh, like, well, not saying that. Tupac also sold what he did because of white America. Like, that is part of the community, right? Or that, not part of the community, but that is part of the capitalism, I guess. And also, I'm gonna be honest, some of these some white kids can relate to this because some of the struggles they're talking about is just capitalism, and they are also suffering from that. So that is one reason why Tupac related.
I think Tupac had a universal relation, able to relate to people, but he was able to relate to the people. He was also able to, and first and foremost is really important too. He was not only first and foremost, but was able to relate to people who were in the struggle, the niggas from the hood, sisters from the hood, people that were at the bottom, right? Where Eminem, not really. Like motherfuckers would laugh at his shit. But when I was growing up, motherfuckers weren't like, oh yeah, that's the nigga. Like, this nigga's funny as fuck. And that's what they were on with Eminem. As far as like being able to relate to him as a person and be like, get some deep meaning from Eminem, nah. I knew white people did, but I didn't know too many. Like, I knew some black folks who weren't like the hood type cast that did, but I didn't know too many hood cast that did. And one of the things that I'm not saying there should be gatekeepers, but one of the things with that is like that was the foundation coming from the bottoms is where hip hop came from. Nigga, this shit literally came from looting stores to be able to get the equipment to make hip
Forget
hop.
where Eminem came from? Do you not understand that like trailer parks just as bad as the hood sometimes? Like, you remember Fred Hampton, right?
But I'm talking about,
he convinced them because their shitty situation was
no,
just
but
bad.
that's not a dispute. But there's certain specific realities that are really different, and the people who founded hip hop are the ones you got to reach to get that pull to be the great. And he couldn't reach those people in those ways to be able to like. It's like he couldn't reach me in the way as much as my mixed ass. He couldn't reach me in that way. So like, there's motherfuckers that were even more hood than me. Definitely they were like nah. And those are the people you got to reach to be able to get to like foundation of that hip hop to be able to be someone to even be on that mention, right? And that's why I say he never even makes the GOAT conversation. I'm like, nah, he's not on the GOAT conversation. Is he crap? Is he shit? No, he earned his right to be the white rapper in hip hop for sure. And then I feel like, but my problem with him is like later on he kind of blew it with his ego. But that's a whole other conversation. We're gonna on tangent.
We could say that about every rapper at a certain point when they get into their career. I just wanted to address. Hold on, somebody said something. Plenty better artists that don't get the play he has. I just want to say that's almost every artist. Like there's 10,000 Beyoncés in this country. It's just that they didn't all have support systems at childhood, resources to get access to singing lessons, right? And this is actually one reason why I'm an anarchist, because it makes me sad thinking about all the art that I've missed because of capitalism, because you should just be able to make art for free and put it out there so I can enjoy it, because I like to enjoy art. So I just want to clarify, like, it doesn't matter who they are to get to that level in capitalism, in this system. You've gone through a filter. You've gone through a filter. And oftentimes they've filtered out some of the most dynamic, talented, and moving artists. So I do not disagree with that. I don't give a fuck about the GOAT conversation, to be honest. I don't think
I'm a hip hop head, so I
No. I know. I love hip hop too, and I know this conversation is always a thing, but I think it's just a fun conversation to have, and there is never going to be an answer because you can't pick one GOAT because we're all different humans, and they're all talking from different perspectives about different topics. I'm not going to compare Jay-Z to Tupac, because Tupac was like a revolutionary and Jay-Z's a capitalist.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is too, also like when I'm talking about like the GOAT conversation, for me isn't really about who is the actual GOAT, but people who are like the top tier. And what I'm saying, Eminem is never going to be top. He's never top tier. He's like okay, I'll give him B. He's top selling for sure. Like, but he's not top tier. That's where I go with it. You know what I mean?
Because
I think he blew it. I do want to say this though, real quick. I think as far as then we can move back to move off Eminem.
What are you talking about? You're a rapper. You should be able to talk about hip hop whenever you want on any live stream. We can connect it back to capitalism, sex, whatever. I
just want to work his way back, just because I want people tuning in and turning around. They're like, wait, I tuned in for this conversation. This is talking Eminem now. You know what I mean?
But we'll get back to the kinky shit. Y'all stopped asking questions about the sex shit. Anyways, they got into the hip hop conversation too.
Okay, fair enough. But like what I will say is about the Eminem is when I was saying specifically that he got too big for the britches, and you said everybody does. Well, here's the thing: is he got too big for the britches in like an anti-black ass way. Like the thing he did with Lord Jamar, like, oh, I'll walk into your house and put my feet up on your couch and tell you to fetch your remote. Like, bruh, that's slap you in your mouth type shit, nigga. Like, there's so many racial levels to that you just said, bro. That's a problem. And like, you don't get to like, you don't even. So that was the line for me. I was defending him till then. I was like, nah, bro, I can't rock with that.
And like, I'm gonna be honest. That sounds like ignorance. That sounds like being in the moment of your feelings. Because to me, again, it's very rarely one action that's just gonna be like, all right, I'm done. Right? I need to see, did you fuck up, or is this a pattern of behavior? For me personally. But also, I don't give a fuck about any of these people. They're all petty bourgeoisie. I enjoy their art through a filter.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is an actual person I know. This is some asshole rich person I don't know. So I know. As far as me supporting his art, I'm just like, nah, I'm good with you now.
No, but that's the thing. Like, what is support art? Like, I don't buy any of y'all's art. Like, I don't like, because I'm not gonna spend money. Like, I have my little subscription to certain things, but
there's other ways
too. If there's a song that I like, I'm gonna listen to it. Period.
There's other ways too, and not to say Eminem needs this at all, because everyone knows who Eminem is. But like, for example, like I'm the type of fan that if you want me, right? Even if I might not ever buy your record, I'm gonna hip you to like 1,000 fucking people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this shit's dope. You know what I mean? And so that will get you sales, even though I might not actually buy it. I'm one of them type of fans, right? So for me, it's like, yeah. Now Eminem doesn't need me. He's so famous. Nothing I'm gonna do is gonna matter. So, but like, you know, I still won't do that for her. I won't be like, nah, I don't care if you come up with a cool song. I'm good.
Look, I have never bought. I love most of Rihanna's catalog, and I have never bought Savage Fenty shit. I've never bought none. I bought 2 concert tickets because I want to see that bitch live. Like, that was it. So like, and I actually, to be honest, I didn't even buy those. I made some of my financial supporters buy those. So like, I try to limit the amount of financial commitment that I make to a lot of artists within capitalism, because then I save that money and I give it to small artists who need it. Like, who I find.
I like
Eminem had no philosophy, no perspective other than his own. Exactly. He didn't grow up with much hip hop, but what I have to grow to love tells me about human life struggles or entire people's ideas for the future. Again, I think there's a difference between growing up in hip hop culture and growing up with hip hop. Like, I didn't grow up in hip hop culture, but I grew up listening to hip hop, right? I think there is a difference between that, right? And like, this is some, like, again, I've been studying a lot of different, like, I guess, philosophies on hip hop, and like hip hop comes from the struggle, right? Like, that does come from the struggle, and it has gotten a little co-opted by capitalism. Not a little, it's gotten completely co-opted by capitalism, but also that's our responsibility as a community to decide whether, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fucking FD Signifier has a great video on this. I forget what it's called, but talking about hip hop culture, and like, we did used to have gatekeepers. I'm not saying that's the way we should go back to. That was not necessarily the best way, but we did have typically male gatekeepers within the hip hop culture that kept it black, that kept it within our shit, and we lost some of that power through capitalism. Like, in my research I've been doing about my video on Tupac, I've started like trying to piece together the story and being like, oh, this wasn't even this wasn't an East Coast West thing. This was a capitalism revolution thing. it was they wanted to exploit us, bro, and Tupac didn't.
See, and here's the thing, even the squad around him, right? Like, I'm not saying this dude's perfect, because we're not.
No, he's not perfect. But
not Tupac. But wait. Well, I'm about to say Suge Knight. That's what I'm saying.
Suge Knight is where Tupac fucked up.
But no. I actually argue he didn't, because if you read some of Suge Knight's shit, Suge Knight he was way more solid than people give him credit for. Now, like, what? Say again?
Suge Knight was a rat, is what Suge Knight was. Suge Knight set that motherfucker up and worked for the state. That's my opinion, and I will go to my grave.
No, Suge Knight had nothing to do with that. I know for a fact. I know that 100%.
I know for a fact that he abused every artist underneath him and threatened all of their lives.
He fucked up Snoop and Dre and a couple other motherfuckers. Not every motherfucker. He was specific people who, like, when you read their track record of what they were doing at that given time.
Okay, so the 5 biggest artists that were underneath him, one of them died, and he threatened all the rest of their life. Sorry, 6. And then one, like, a few of his artists, he was basically like, I will sign your music over to me, or I will kill you. I'm sorry, but that man was out of control. That was a raging fucking narcissist.
Nah, I disagree. And then, like, some of the interviews you hear with them, basically, he even talks about literally specifically goes into like white supremacy and colonialism within the situations in the music industry. He goes kind of deep. And some of the things I want to point out is, like, a lot of the people he was accused of abusing were men who abused a lot of women, noticeably. And a lot of, like, just, I'm gonna point this out, I mean, big motherfuckers that were some funny ass motherfuckers he was abusing. So these artists that, like, but they're just way more famous, like they're like Snoop and shit. The Snoop snitched on motherfuckers. Ain't no way talking about that. But, like, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying people can't redeem themselves from even that, but, like, Snoop has no desire to do that. He doesn't give a fuck. He just, like, ignored it and it went away. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of shit that was around it, and he, I don't know. Like, and to be a buck, none of us really know, because none of us were really there as far as that. I know he didn't kill Tupac, though, because I know
he didn't. I'm not saying he killed Tupac.
I thought you were saying he set him up.
I think he gave him. I think he absolutely gave. Whether it was directly, I think he was involved.
Oh no, he wasn't. Because I knew I had Shelly who was literally I don't want to put him out there, but knew the motherfucker who killed Tupac. Like Orlando, the dude they jumped killed him, like 100%. Like and live Crip niggas who are from who
I'm not talking
affiliate.
about any of that guy. Okay. One, the Crips and the Bloods were started by the fucking state, so I don't trust the state. Like,
the Crips came from the Panthers. Crips are Community Revolution in Progress.
Let's connect the dots. Okay, it's pretty widely known that those two gangs came out of them murdering most of us and putting most of us in jail from the Black Panthers. So yes, they created they created that through the culture that they put us through, and that's how a lot of like Black historians talk about it. When people talk about gang violence from then, I go, well, that's y'all's fault. We tried to liberate ourselves. And then you fucking flooded our communities with drugs and influenced a lot of culture there. We can't act like the CIA and the FBI has been completely involved in the drug war outside of the country in every other aspect, and it's not intimate. Number one, we can just go to how many fucking rappers get killed anyway.
What I would say is they didn't create the Crips. What the drug war did is pit Crips against each other. More specifically, now the conflict between the Crips and the Bloods was a whole different thing. I could do a whole thing on this, but I don't know if I should do a thing on this because it's not my history to tell. I know it because my brothers were Crips and shit like that. I know it because I have homies that were Crips and like that. It's not really my history to tell. You know what I mean? So
I think it's another topic that we should maybe do like a video essay topic on to really like edit, because I think that's information. That's history. That's our history. People like, we don't need to know the inner workings, right? Like, we're not trying to like out people, but like understanding that does help understand the flow of the culture better.
I mean, honestly, I just hit my homies up if we did something like that, but I just feel like they should talk about it, not me, because I don't bang. Like, I'm not from that. You know what I mean? I was too nerdy for the niggas that would put me on, so I never became a gang member. So
look, if you have people that would talk about that, even if they want their voice disguised and want to be dark on screen, I can edit all of that. I'd love to do a documentary about that topic. I would drive anywhere to do that, because these are things that number one, capitalism isn't going to go spend money to talk about. And two, you need people to film, edit, be a part of that documentary who actually give a fuck about the culture, who actually give a fuck about these people's stories. And that's something I would love to talk to people about. So please let me know in the future.
Okay, yeah. Look, I'm gonna say one thing. This will be a little bit of a spoiler. Does anybody notice that Bloods be light skinned? A lot of times, a lot of Bloods are light skinned. There was a reason for that, but again, not my history to tell. But there was some shit with that, and there's some of those continued. But like the drug war turned everybody against everybody. That's what happened. The drug war. It wasn't. I will say it's not really the drugs. It was the fucking money.
Yes,
the drugs are not like a good positive thing per se, but it's not what people think it is. It's the fucking money and people fighting for the scraps that turn everybody against each other. You know what I mean? Especially when motherfuckers were going from having nothing to like being able to drive Benzes. Motherfuckers going to war for that, and it's sad, but it's reality. You know what I mean? Capitalism.
It's the way that capitalism has found that they can co-opt anything that's going to try to overthrow it, and we saw it happen with the Black Lives Matters movement. Right? Capitalism just came in with money, and it's still just in limbo land right now with no leadership. The actual organization, right? Like, capitalism co-ops, and the main tactic of our enemy is getting us to fight each other. It's the easiest one. It's the one where they drop a little thing in there and they sit back in their fucking leather-bound book libraries and laugh at us fighting each other. I've been in that room.
They also do things like incarcerate all the elders, like all the OGs and big homies.
Yeah,
that's how the Crips started, by incarcerating all the older Panthers, and so younger cast made the Crips to like as Community Revolution in Progress, and then a lot of them got arrested, and so they're little homies, and so on and so forth. So they throw our elders away, you know what I mean? So it's just, anyways.
He's testifying. You better listen up. Okay, they target people specifically, leadership specifically, people that have specific messages, who are charismatic specifically. They know. Put that motherfucker in jail. It's a threat. So,
and then they portray like they're helping the community by doing that. But the OGs are the shit. The OGs are the ones that calm shit the fuck down. The youngsters be doing all the wild shit. We talk about all these gang shootings and shit. A lot of times the cats are between the ages of 14 to 20, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and they're youngsters. Then they're brain just ain't developed like that,
They
and
don't
they
have
on
no
some hot
guidance.
headed shit. But
You're
then
supposed to have a mentor, even like in other like mafia and like other type of trade. You're supposed to have a mentor. You're supposed to have like there's leadership for guidance. One, because like y'all doing illegal shit, like, and you got to protect yourself, right? Like, I don't know. I've been quite obsessed with the organizational structures in the forsaken proletariat my entire life. And like, to be honest, I would have made a pretty good drug lord, I think. If I had decided to go that direction, because I'm a savage motherfucker. But at the same time, like, there's so much knowledge in these demographics. I don't give a fuck about somebody with a PhD. I don't give a fuck with someone who, like, to be honest, like, did their like study masters on bell hooks. Read bell hooks. She's a revolutionary. But at the same time, the people who have the ideas that I think we need in revolution, even in revolutionary healing, even in sexual revolution, that's the demographic they're in. They're sex workers. They're they're drug dealers. They're doing this shit because guess what? They've already had to work outside the system. They've been working outside the system for decades. But getting leadership out of jail, like, there's activists that don't even know what leaders are rotting in jail. And I'm going to be a little passionate about this. I already know you're passionate about this, but I get fucked up when I hear some of the things that were going on and being like, are y'all not getting this indigenous activist that was standing by us in the 60s is already starved to death in Florida? What the fuck are we doing about that? Why are we not? That's, again, one reason. And also your content on it. One reason why prison abolition went to the top of my motherfucking priority. If we can't just overthrow this, that it has to happen. I'm sad at the people that are in those places that have revolutionary ideas, art, healing, things that we need. And then also they do that shit in jail too. That was another thing that I did some more research on because of you, that I was like, you mean they've been doing revolutionary shit in jail, but they don't tell us about that because they don't want you to know, right?
Yeah, that's what.
So
That's why
we over here looking like idiots, not getting anywhere, and the knowledge we need is literally institutionalized.
Like I said, I've told people over and over again, FTP is directly accountable to people in prison. We're saying that for a reason. I might not say exactly all the things that we're connected with for reasons for people's safety, but bruh, people doing work in there. I do want to take this.
Sorry, can we put this comment up right here,
Angelique? Wait, I want to respond. Wait, go back up.
Sorry. I got excited
before, because I wanted to actually take the last few minutes to respond to all these comments because we're actually towards the end.
Well, then if you're going to change the subject, please let me shout this out real quick, because this is the activist I was talking about.
I just don't want to lose this.
Angelique, thank you. Free Leonard Pelter. That's exactly who I was talking about very specifically.
Yep. Facts.
So I just wanted to shout that out. Please go look at that story. Democracy Now! Has a very good little piece on it. If you're going to change the subject, I just wanted to point that out. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, we were going to respond to that too. I'm just going down because I wanted to go to the point where we responded to the chat. I mean, I try to respond the whole time, but like make the end respond chat, which by next week, hopefully we'll have all set up and we'll actually y'all be able to call in via Discord and like actually talk and chop it up. So yeah, that's we're getting this all set up to get this popping like that.
For that. I want to talk to people.
Same.
I love talking to people, especially about these topics.
This was a question for us. I don't, by the way, but do either of y'all, you two have videos on difference between kink and fetish? I'm autistic, and a lot of the words I learned are sometimes used interchangeably, which really makes it hard to understand.
Absolutely. Actually, I'm not sure if I have an exact video on this topic, but Actual Table, I'm not sure if you heard earlier. If you go to the MP Experience, I have a lot of video content on kink, and I always try to talk from the perspective of complete inclusion with everybody's people with disabilities, or I'm also on the autistic spectrum, and I'm pretty severely ADHD. So just to tell you real quick, a fetish typically means it's something that you kind of need to come, right? A fetish is a little bit more intense than maybe a kink, right? I have lots of kinks, right? I like bondage, I like needle play, I like CBT, but like the fetishes I have are more around like there are a lot of allegory. Like I have a fetish around just being the dominant in the relationship. I have a little bit of a fetish around nostalgia. So being the femme dominant in the relationship, and also presenting in maybe a more 1960s 1950s mask type of way. So I think the difference is kind of the intensity of the two. Now kink is also used irreplaceable with BDSM, right? Kink is actually typically used for people of color, like to use kink a lot more oftentimes than BDSM, because BDSM does have some cultural roots within white supremacy, the naming of that. And so that's why you'll see kink and BDSM oftentimes used interchangeably. Now having a kink is again more specific of like, oh, I like rope bondage, I like spanking, I like this, right? Having a fetish is going to be more intense than a kink. So oftentimes when people are using kink and fetish interchangeably, it's because that's what we do in everyday society. Or if you're kinky, oftentimes we'll call it vanilla society. And so, but they have different meanings within like kink spaces. And that's often just because of education, lack of education.
Yo, dope, fire.
What was that last comment you put up? I didn't read it. Which one was it? Oh, also really glad to learn about what you're talking about. I've never been exposed to this stuff in my life. Oh, well, welcome. Yay.
Yeah. We're glad to have all of y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all all are dope.
No, this chat has been great. Thank you guys. I love an active chat. I'm very ignorant in a lot of stuff regarding revolution. What does NGL mean? I'm such a boomer about some like online stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what it means either. I thought you might know.
Oh no, look, we're both. I called us both out. If you tell us what NGL means, but responding to the first, I'm ignorant in a lot of stuff regarding revolution. Don't worry, so are most people. And we're not too much more ahead of the game than you are. It's all a scale.
I mean, it all just comes with time and experience, because there's no real, I mean, you can learn from books and stuff, but all the real learning comes in the streets for real. If you're trying to really build, it comes from the actions and experience more than the books. The books can help a little bit to make you avoid certain pitfalls, but shit is always changing and it always shifts. So there's no blueprint. You know what I mean?
No, there's no blueprint. And it's not even about books. It's just about knowledge. It's just mixing knowledge and practice actually doing, right? So you don't need to read a book to necessarily understand revolutionary philosophy or even Marx, to be honest. Like you could have a conversation with a friend. You may go to like a group thing. Like there's lots of ways to get education about things and mix it with praxis. You can do both those at the same time without having to read a book. And I say that too because I think oftentimes on the left, we get very stuck in, particularly, our debate bro boys get very stuck in theory, and don't consider, like, again, the demographics of people. Some people don't have time to read. One of the reasons why I've had time to read. I've had time to watch documentaries and shit like that. And capitalism steals your time. So a lot of people don't have time. And also a lot of people have different mental disabilities. And so being like, you have to read, Das Kapital and fucking the bread book or whatever, like no, you don't. Like, or look, I'll read it to you. Like, if you'd like me to read it to you with some nice lighting and some titties out, like, we can make that happen. Maybe I'll make a video, but like there's way more ways to consume knowledge. Talking to elders, like we just talked about, people who've been through experience, and you can do practice either at the same time or then take that. So I just don't want people to get hung up on like, you've got to read the books. Like that's not how our ancestors passed on knowledge. Number one, we didn't need books.
Yeah, that's real. Like I think a lot of those experiential knowledge is really important to be valued. In fact, a lot of the books, and if you guys want to peep it out, you can see another video I put out called Academics Are Trash, Here's Why, and it goes into like how a lot of the shit appropriates knowledge from other communities and then takes it back to academia and utilizes it for their own tools, but doesn't even apply it right because they don't understand the context it came out of. So yeah.
Whoa, yes, preach. Well, play that, Black. Can I get a replay on that one? That was some knowledge right there, because I'll drop a little thing I learned recently. The word professor, which we use for a lot of college professors, it actually comes from the church back in Europe, and it used to be like a clergy member from the church that would be in your schoolroom or in your classroom where you were learning things, and you would learn a topic, and then the professor would profess the church's doctrine about that topic. So, say we're learning about a philosophy, and then you'd learn it, and then the professor would come up and say, "Now, this is how God says this is supposed to be." And they were called professors because they would profess the doctrine. So I liked knowing the history of that because that connects to professors in college. They are just professing the doctrine of the state. So I encourage, if you want to be real revolutionary, please don't waste your money if you're in college. We can help get you that knowledge. I probably know someone that has that degree already. You can get mentored. Those are colonized structures, and they are hoarding probably the important knowledge from you.
Yeah, and they definitely are. Because the thing is that this is not an education system. Academia is not an education. It's not the Library of Alexandria. It's not what it is. It's literally giving it's something that is a filter you into a specific place they want you. You know what I mean? A specific labor field. Like even you see that people don't go to work. I mean, they go to college to get an education. They go to college to get a job. You know what I mean? And that is already backwards, right? Because if you go to college, if you go to things like the Library of Alexandria, where you go just to learn, so you learn more things because you want to learn, not because, oh, I wanted to get a degree later, not because whatever. And yeah, it might give you some tools, but you should be learning to go there to learn the tools, not to get a piece of paper. But that's not what it's about. And so, like, they hide the knowledge that's powerful from you and give you whatever it is that whatever place they're trying to put you. And even when people who are like part of the system of colonization, even people who become CIA agents, right? They still hide a lot of the information from them and only give them what they need to be able to make them good followers in that fucking role. So, you know, it's
no, it's so accurate. And to see also how many different, different types of philosophy and different types of subjects has been perverted by capitalism, has been literally changed. You can't, you can still learn from those places because there is knowledge but you have to filter it through the lens of where it's coming from. Also, the way we do school is not teaching you to critically think, it's teaching you to memorize. Okay, so people who get philosophy degrees are not philosophers. Philosophers are critical thinkers that came up with a new concept from other people's knowledge and data. That's not memorizing philosophy. Memorizing the dates that things happen does not make you a historian. Okay, that's not memorizing how to diagnose someone, no offense, doesn't make you a psychologist. You have to actually critical think and come up with a new theory, a new concept. And a historian, you have to understand why people did that. Did it really start there? What was the psychology of the leaders? It's a whole understanding. It's not, oh, I remember World War II happened on this date.
Look, I say this all the time.
That's why you don't know what's happening right now, because that's all you know about World War II.
I say this all the time. You can't be intelligent without being a critical thinker. Like, you can regurgitate a whole bunch of shit, but if you're not willing to challenge the thoughts you learn, you are not an intelligent person. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not saying it as like intelligence also isn't your like if you're dyslexic or not, if you have a learning disability or not, because there are plenty of people with learning disabilities, dyslexic, autistic, or whatever that are fucking geniuses, bro.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Fucking geniuses.
Absolutely.
But it's about being critical thinkers and being like, okay, does this make sense? Let me challenge this with all the stuff I've learned. Let me take all this thing, like, let me challenge it, and then okay, that is. And then also another thing that makes someone intelligent is coming up with new thoughts. Very few people come up with new thoughts. You know what I mean? We shouldn't be looking at, in my opinion at least, we shouldn't be looking at all this information and stuff we should digest and come to the same answer, but take all that in and try to get to the next answer, get to the next step. And if we're not going to the next step, then we're just regurgitating stuff. That's it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that's one reason why I decided to even like come online and talk about leftist shit, is because I felt like in a lot of our movements, we're either getting co-opted by capitalism or we are just redoing memorized tactics from the history. And I don't see anything new. I'm like, those haven't worked. We need to take tips from them, but like, we need to learn from those things in a critical way. Why didn't it work? How didn't it work? Whatever else. But it needs to be something new. It needs to be critically thought about and create a new strategy, because that strategy wasn't 100% effective, or we wouldn't be here having these conversations, right? And I think that's kind of been my push and frustration, is like, how, I'm not saying I have it, I'm just saying I got some ideas and I'd like to talk to some other people with ideas, because I know not one person, there's not one Karl Marx that's going to be like, oh, here's how you liberate yourself. It's not how it's going to happen. It's a giant country. It's going to be different in different communities. It's going to be different in different parts of the state. And I think too, like, sometimes people don't even understand the difference of revolution. I think people think we're really going to be like going to Washington, D.C. Like, the capital of the country is not going to be the state structure you're going to have to overthrow. It's going to be your city and your state house. That's, you got to think more local. But like, because that's where stuff starts. If you're not going to get on a plane and go to DC and do a January 6th, we watched them do that. That clearly didn't work. It was hilarious. But also, like,
to be fair, they were just LARPing. They weren't really.
They were. But that's not what they think. They think that they did something. And I don't want to look like that. I don't want to be out here doing a revolution thinking I'm doing something and people laughing because they're like, that's not going to work. And that's what I feel like a lot of these spaces are right now. So yeah, I'm looking for the new strategy. I'm looking for the one that's going to work, or the one that's going to push us forward, and then we learn something new. And that's not going to come from one person. It's going to come from a big collective of us having strategy meetings and think tanks, just like the enemy is.
Facts. Man. So
sorry. I thought I saw another comment but no, we got to that one.
We highlighted. We didn't really address it, but we highlighted it. But it kind of we're all on the topic, so we kind of were addressing when we're talking. I mean, so
yeah. If you're going
to shout out to the Good Morty. They've been fucking with me for a minute, so I appreciate that. Showed up to the Sex Sunday live stream. Hey,
I also love your screen name. I love a good, clever screen name. I have someone in my chat called the Base Buddha Colton, and he always comes in with just like straight truth. And I was like, your screen name is dope. Like, I love it. So the Good Morty is great. And then I also wanted to highlight that he said capitalism scrambles our thoughts. Please hear that. Please hear that. Capitalism, it doesn't want you to think, and everything it's telling you is trying to either scramble your thoughts, give you information either that you don't feel like you can validate, or sometimes they just trying to give you something you'll trust immediately so you won't ask any questions. And like Big Villainous was saying earlier, you have to ask questions, just like when you're learning, right? You're trying to grow. You need to ask how, why, and please start asking that of the state, because we've unconsensually like signed up or didn't consent to this structure from the beginning, but yet we also don't know how it works. A lot of us, we don't ask why, how. We don't get the details. And I encourage people to do that, because capitalism doesn't want you to do that, because then you're questioning authority. That's typically what we've learned growing up, right? When kids ask how, why, that's because kids are trying to learn about the world. And most of the time we shut them up, because that's exactly what there is going to happen when they grow up in capitalism. If you start questioning the system, we're going to shut you up. We're going to put you in jail. We're going to get rid of your job. And we're trained. This is part of the parenting, part of the programming, so that when you're 18, you're ready to conform to authority and never ask why and how. Please stop. Ask your boss why and how. Ask every authoritarian. Ask me why and how. If I'm ever in a leadership position, please question authority so you know where the fuck you're going. Yeah, sorry, that was my inner revolutionary popping out, where I was like, please stop. Like, question authority. Please, as someone who gets consent to have authority over other humans, question it. We're not perfect. We're also humans.
I'm trying to see what Anada Fee said, but about wanting to engage my content. I didn't quite into the message. I'm sorry to put you on blast, but right here on Overthrow Media, where all my content is. Also, you can find me on Bandcamp if you like music at villainous_music. Yeah, and Spotify, Big Villainous, stuff like that. So, if I need to clarify more, again, the messages, and I guess we'll read a couple more comments, and then we're gonna like give our little outros, then so everybody can. So let Posh plug the channel first, and then I'll plug my channel and stuff I'm working on, and then yeah. But got to where we can read.
I was gonna add this real quick so people can see it. There, subscribe. So yes, my name's you can call me Posh, you can call me Comrade Posh. On some stuff I say I'm, mistress for the proletariat. I'm a full-time revolutionary. I put content out about kink and revolutionary organizing. I do consider myself a philosopher and a historian, a strategist, and a healer. And if you'd like to see my my degrees, I don't have any degrees. I'm a Black woman in America, and I've experienced, and I've also had time. So I've done lots of research. Some things I've probably read more than people with degrees. And so I said, that's what I am, and that's what I am. So if you'd like some content, I go live on Disrupted Bodies. Here, I'll put this on here. Disrupted Bodies. I go live, and then my channel with edited content like video essays is Disrupted Philosophy. I just put out like my first video essay / documentary. It's called Raised by Colonizers. It's about how capitalism is child abuse. It is long. It's 7.5 hours. It's time stamped. Again, if you want to wait and watch by chapter individual videos, I will be putting the individual chapters out this month, but it is a whole piece. So if you don't watch the whole thing, you won't get the whole concept. And that's why it's long. But it's also entertaining. There's lots of breaks. There's TikTok. There's like bits. There's comedy. It's not just a straight kind of bring you down to the depths documentary. But it also, I think, one of the best comments I've gotten on it is that it's basically critical race theory. Like it's basically what they don't want you to learn in school, but in a fun video essay content. So please watch it. It took a lot of time and a lot of trauma and triggering. And then you can also follow me on TikTok. I post clips and I also do videos on there. And yeah, that's where you can follow me. And also I'll be on Sex Sundays.
Yeah. Also, like I said, you can follow me here on Overthrow Media. You can also follow me on villainous_music on pretty much all the other socials. That means TikTok, Twitter, SoundCloud, Bandcamp. Oh yeah, and definitely Patreon. If you want to support that way and keep the lights on, because it helps kids tour. It helps literally. I would say keep the lights on, but it's not literally keep the lights on because I'm kind of touring. But me touring keeps the lights on. You know what I mean? That's why I got light electricity because I'm at another spot.
What was the username again, Villainous?
Villainous_music. I'm about to add this to banners right now.
Okay, you doing
it? I don't. Yeah, sure. Boom.
There we go.
So that's for all my other socials as well as the Patreon. Also, there's a GoFundMe. You can find some of my other videos on this channel. If you watch some of the edited videos, there's the GoFundMe at the bottom. I don't have it at the top of my head, or otherwise I'd put it up, but I should prepare, but I wasn't. So I appreciate y'all tuning in and rocking with us, and I hope to see y'all next week, next Sunday, every Sunday at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. And please share this video for people who didn't get to see it live. They can still watch the whole thing, and hopefully they learn something from it, enjoy it, and have a good time. So
love each other.
All right, we about to be out. Peace. In broadcast.